that were conducted in South Africa, our savings and investments in South Africa. In 2011, about 60% of our money as households was spent on consumption. In 2011, the average person in South Africa was spending close to 60% of their income on consumption. They spend about 18% there, spending it on what? On debt. And insurance was sitting somewhere there at around 8%, lower than 10%, and the savings in 2011 were sitting at lower than 20%. So which means that for every 1,000 rands that a person gets, they spend about 6,000 of that money on consumption. In 2013, when they ran this very same statistic and very same report, it found that people were spending just around the same amount of money in percentages on what? On consumption, and debt somewhere there, and insurance somewhere there, but there was a slight increase on the amount of money that people were what? Were saving there at about 20%. In 2015, people were spending more, close to 70%, at about 68% on consumption. Now, if you look at that graph, it started increasing. It means that more of people in South Africa are spending their money on what? On consumption. If you look at debt, we are sitting somewhere there at around 15, 13 odd percent, significantly more than these 2 years. In 2015, again, our savings and investments were very much low to what we were in 2013. Interesting, when they ran the very same slide last year, it showed that people were still spending a significant amount of their money on consumption, and there's our savings level still going down. It means we have a what? We have a problem in South Africa. Here's another important slide that I would love to share with you, also on the same research. It found that in the year 2010, people were saving about 63 to 65% of their money on savings for their children's education. So which means people are putting aside money for what? For their children's education. Now if you look at that, the graph started to go down significantly, and in 2018, we are sitting at about 45–46%. It means that 56% of the population do not save money for their children's education. So that means that we have a problem, because the legacy that we are leaving for our children is quite a problem. Let me share with you also another interesting thing. In terms of this one, people that earn around 14,000 to 19,000 a month spend about 50% of their income on credit cards, repayments. In 2018, that figure went up from 50% to 65%. In the same 2 years, an analysis of people that earn between 20,000 and 39,000, in 2017 they were spending about 47% of their money servicing credit cards, as opposed to 55% in 2018. Now people that earn 40 plus, those are your middle class, they were spending in 2017 about 37% of their money servicing credit cards, and in 2018 it actually shot up to 51%. It means that we are a nation that loves to spend on what? On credit. Here's another one that I would love to say to share with you as well. People, these are what we spend mostly all our money on petrol, groceries, electricity, medical aid, insurance, and in that fashion. Now let me share with you international studies that have been done on our quality of life and how that is important. There's a study that is done by a company called Nambio, and this index, they publish it on a yearly basis. It looks at things like the cost of living and purchasing power. It looks at things like housing affordability. It looks at things like pollution. It looks at things like quality of health and the healthcare system. It looks at traffic as well that we experience in different countries. South Africa, out of 60 countries in 2018, ranked at about 36 out of 60 countries. So we're more or less in the middle there. In 2019, when they completed the study, out of 71 countries, South Africa came at at about 40 in the index, which means that our quality of life is very low if you look at all of those indexes. There's another one that is conducted. It came out in 2019 in February. It's called the World Happiness Report. Now in the World Happiness Report, what they measure there is GDP per capita, they measure social support, they measure health and life expectancy, they measure people's generosity. It's amazing what we see nowadays. People are not generous anymore. In fact, there's a study that was completed just a few months ago where they were looking at how many people are actually tipping petrol attendants. It's amazing that we actually do not tip petrol attendants in South Africa. It also looks at things like the perception of corruption. Out of 156 countries, South Africa came at 106. It means that actually we are not a very happy country. Now, if you want to understand which countries made it to the top, or if you want to migrate and go to those countries, we can go to Finland. People are very happy in Finland. When you look at all of these measures, you can go to Denmark, where you're going to live a happy life. You can also go to Norway, you can go to Iceland, and all of these other countries that rank very high on the report. So South Africans are not a very, very happy people. So this also shows that our money or GDP per capita there also has an impact on our quality of life, as has been shown by the Nambio report as well. Locally, there is a report that is done by a company called KPMG, which most of you would know. So these are the things that they look at. They look at the good socio-economic conditions of the country. They look at the environment of the country. They look at good governance. It's amazing and maybe a coincidence that this report is actually called the Africa Good Life Report. So it measures all the African countries and it gives an index of those countries based on these three criteria. Here are the top 5 countries. You think that South Africa would feature there. It doesn't feature there. There's Seychelles, there's Mauritius, Tunisia, there's Rwanda, and there's Algeria. These are the countries with good socio-economic conditions. So when we talk of socio-economic conditions, we're talking about things about their unemployment rate, we're talking about things about employment rates, we're talking about things like income and a whole lot of others that affect our socio-economic balance. Now, let me take you through a few slides before we finish this presentation on some of the things that are important and I think affect our quality of life. Now, if you look at personal finance and the relationship that it has with your health, you'd realize that in fact this has a significant impact on our quality of life. Now, money can buy you a whole lot of things, right? Money can buy you a whole lot of what? A whole lot of things. One of the things that money can buy you is access to what? To good health. Access to good health is one of the things that money can buy. In fact, there's a research that has been done on how our personal finance or our money affects our health, and there's several things that they mention there. They say that personal finance or your money can affect your health from what they call a material point of view. From a material point of view, what they mean is money and personal finance has an impact on your health in the sense that having no access to health and better health care can actually deteriorate your quality of life. Think about it. Good health care is quite expensive, and for you to be able to access good health, you need money. And one of the things that they say in the analysis of the report, they say it's not about the amount of money that you earn, but it's about how you manage your money to be able to access good health. The second thing that they mention in that report, so the first thing that they mention, they say money affects your health in the sense that it affects your material abilities, but also it affects what they call your psychosocial point of view. So what do they mean by psychosocial point of view? They mean that money affects your health in the sense that worrying too much about your money also has an impact on your cognitive abilities. Did you ever think about that? Money has an impact on your ability to think cognitively and take better decisions in our lives. So also it affects the way we think, the way we are affected also by the way we think. The other one that they mentioned in the report, which is quite important, in terms of how money affects our health, they talk about things like your behavior. Apparently, no access to good health leads people to adopt behaviors that are not conducive for them, like drinking and smoking. Secondly, personal finance also has an impact on your family. Most of us, where we come from, we are breadwinners. Most of us, where we come from, we are the only ones that are working. So that means that a family that is faced with a situation where the breadwinner is suddenly faced with retrenchment or having to lose a loss of a job, studies have shown that that type of an event can actually lead the whole family into depression. So that means that money also affects our what? Also affects our families. Furthermore, they say that not having money can also affect our families in the sense that the absence of money also makes us irritable as people. Meaning we get angry very quickly when there is no money around. I'm glad you have reached that one. So when we get angry very easily, it also affects our relationships with the people that we are with, and also affects the relationship with the people that we work with. I want to share a story before I move on with you. I know of a gentleman that we once consulted with, and well, he told me that he works for a construction company in Sandton, and he leaves his house around 5:30 because he has to knock in at work at around 7 o'clock. So there's two things: he has to be early, but also he's trying to beat traffic. Now, he says that he spends over 90% of his money servicing the debt that his family has because he's the only breadwinner in his family. Now, he says when he came to consult with me, he sat with a warning because he was an irritable person, a person that did not go along with his colleagues, and that ultimately affected his performance and his work that he did. So money affects our families and also our colleagues and the relationships that we have with our colleagues as well. Our social life also is affected by what? By money. If there's no money, then our social life is also affected. There's 3 universities that conducted a study, and in this study they wanted to actually understand how money affects people's behavior, or the lack of money, how it affects people's behavior. And what they did, they called people into a lab, and in the lab they asked them to play a game of Monopoly. And by playing the game of Monopoly, there was money that was associated with playing that game. It ranged from $4,000 to about nothing, $0. Now, after the study and after people came into the lab and completed the study, one of the things that they realized was that the people that had money had better relations with other people as well that were affected in the study. And the people that got 0 from completing the game of Monopoly also had a very negative relationship with the people that were present at that study. So that means that also money also affects our what? Our social life as well. Now here are a few solutions that I would love to bring to the fore before I actually sit down. One of the things that we need to do, because we realize that money affects our quality of life, we need to develop sound financial habits. We need to develop sound financial what? Financial habits. The other one that I would love to bring to your attention is also mind your health. Spend some time in understanding what your health looks like. And also once you start doing that, you will realize that actually aspects of your health are affected by how you manage your money. The other third and most important one is have a view of the bigger picture. Often at times we get so enclosed by the details that we actually lose the bigger picture. So have a view of the bigger picture. The third one, put your family first. Quite very important, put your what? Put your family first. And I would love to also submit work smart and not hard. The last one that I want to give as my slide, and more importantly, your quality of life is affected by the decisions that you make on a financial aspect. So therefore, it often helps to get a financial coach. Get a financial coach. So what are some of the advantages for having a financial coach? One, we have a personal confidant. A personal confidant is someone that you confide in as he takes you through your journey or on your personal finance journey. He becomes your personal confidant. Accelerated growth. Often at times we have goals that we set at the beginning of the year. Some of them have to do with our finances and where we want to see ourselves and where we want to see our finances. But because we lack the necessary skills and tools and mechanisms in which we can put in place to accelerate our growth in our finances, we lack that, and thus we fall through the cracks. Therefore, having a financial coach can assist you with putting that in place. The other important advantage of getting a financial coach is that you get a customized, bespoke personal wealth plan. A personal wealth plan that talks to you, that is about your own personal financial goals and where you want to see yourself financially. It also, one of the advantages is we have measurable results over the term that we have our financial coach. Also, and most importantly, also you get improved financial habits. So all in all I'm trying to say with this presentation is that financial literacy has nothing to do with the amount of money that you make. Financial independence has nothing to do with the income that you make. But financial independence and financial literacy has to do with how we manage our money, the feeling that we get in managing our money in a proper way, and what managing our money in a proper way can open up, and the opportunities that it opens up for you. So I hope after this slide we can start realizing that actually our quality of health is also affected by the decisions that we make on our financial decisions. Thank you very much.